I've just stuffed a massive, large, deep pan pizza down my throat, and I'm needing as much water as possible to get through this video. Excuse me. Hi everyone, it's the Racingblogger here. Welcome to this video. Cheltenham Day 3. We're going to talk about the JLT. It's a Grade 1. But by this stage, we're all going to know all of the answers from days 1 and 2 by the time Day 3 hits us. Will Bouvedere have won the Champion Hurdle? Will Talking Horse Get a Bird have won the Supreme? Will Footpad win the Arkle? And on Day 2, will Altior, Min or potentially Douvan win the Champion Chase? I can't wait. I'm buzzing for it. Cheltenham, as you all know, is the mecca of horse racing. It's our Olympic festival. It's all of this hype, all of this build-up, all pounded into one. Boom, boom, boom. And we get to know all of the answers. I'm absolutely ready for it. And I'm going to be down at Cheltenham bright and early on Monday. Now, this JLT is a fascinating race. Let's start by talking about the betting. At the moment, it's still a very confusing picture. You've got Monolith, who's still double entered in the JLT and RSA. You've got Footpad, who's in the Arkle and still in the JLT. So let's run through the betting here. Invitation only is your 7-2 fav. Monolith, you can get a bit of 5s. Footpad, non-runner, no bet. Top price there would be 3-1. Terrafort for Nicky Henderson is a 7-1 shot. Modus for Paul Nicholls, 15-2. Finian's Oscar, my old foe, available at 8-1. Benatar for Gary Moore. Good form line there with Finian's Oscar, a 9-1 shot. Album Photo, a 10-1 shot. Shattered Loves, 14s. And then it's Big Marty, 16s, bar the rest. So let's talk about a few of the stats here for the JLT. I've got some interesting info for you. 6 of the last 7 winners were all sent off 7-1 or shorter. The only exception being Beneficent, who won at 20-1 in 2013. Big shout out to Harry Allwood for these stats. Thanks a lot from Racing UK, the best racing channel out there. 6 of the last 7 winners had won at least 2 races over fences. 6 of the last 7 winners had won on their last completed start over fences. And 6 of the last 7 had previously won a graded race. Very, very interesting. Now, one of the key stats here is all past winners were aged either 6 or 7. So you'd ideally be looking at a 6 or 7-year-old, judging by the good old stats. Stats are always there to be broken, but stats are helpful. So let's talk about this 130 here. It's going to be run over 2.5 miles on the new course at Cheltenham. 16 fences will be jumped. Current going is good to soft. Before we start this, here's a little look of Footpad.
Sensational performance from Footpad. Wow, breathtaking. 8-13 on during the week. I absolutely lumped on. I know it's not your kind of price, boys and girls, but it went off 4-9, smashed the market.
So, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to talk about either Footpad or Monolith. We're chucking them out because they're probably likely to run elsewhere. And I don't want to waste my precious time or your valuable time. Let's talk about Invitation Only, trained by Willie Mullins. He's always been a bit of a talking horse. This always been highly regarded. Won a point-to-point, 2 bumpers and a maiden hurl at Gorham Park. Disappointingly, he was beaten at even money, beaten at 11-10. Things didn't work out too well for him over hurdles. This year he's gone novice chasing. Fell on his debut at Punchestown behind Monolith, but made amends in good fashion at Navan, hammering Any Second Now, who's favourite for the Close Brothers Handicap Chase. He's an 8-1 co-favourite, I think, with the Plotting Shed. Went to Punchestown, again over 2.5 miles on heavy ground, won a Grade 3. Next time up, he stepped up to the Big Boys League in the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown, the Flowgas Novices Chase, Grade 1 over 2 mile 5. And this was a cracking race. Only a length separated Monolith, Album Photo and Invitation Only. He was there all the way to the line, just lost second on the post, and it was a cracking run by Invitation Only. Monolith won the race that day in good fashion. And you'd like to think that this horse is very lightly raced, only the 3 completed starts over fences. Always been a bit of a hype horse, always thought a lot of by Willie Mullins, owned by Andrew and Graham Wiley. They've had some cracking horses down the years. I'm sure Ruby will be back on this, which could be a really good thing. And, you know, Willie Mullins obviously has won this race with some fantastic horses in the past. Potentially the best of all of them was Vator. What an absolute monster he was in full flow going round Cheltenham. But that's Invitation Only, is your current 7-2 favourite in what looks a very competitive JLT. If we move on to the second favourite, it's Terra Fort for Nicky Henderson. Only had the 2 runs in this country, beating Ben Tillemar at Huntingdon in impressive fashion. That was a handicap off a 137. Went into Grade 1 company at Sandown in the Sissy Isles Novice Chase. Got up on the line to beat Cyrenamer Paul Nicholls, who has subsequently come out and won the Betdac Chase race at Kempton. That was the Betdac Pendle Novice Chase. It was a Grade 2. So the form looks pretty decent there. He's lightly raced. He's unexposed. There's not a lot I can tell you about him, but he's Nicky's selection for this, and he's got some very good horses. He's currently available to be backed at around 7-1 top price. A big difference there in the bookies. Some are going 5s, some are going 7s. He's a nice horse, Terra Fort. Whether or not he's got the experience to win this, I don't know. How deep will he want the ground? Again, I do not know. Third up in the betting is Modus for Paul Nicholls. Now, he's an 8-year-old. He kind of is slightly outside of the stats that we talked about, where 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds are the most favoured in this race. But Modus is a really decent horse. And if you go back to the Cheltenham Festival last year, he ran in the Coral Cup. He carried 11 stone 7, was only beaten 6 lengths. He actually gave 3 lengths to Super Sunday, who's favourite for the Stayers Hurdle. I think that was an almighty run over 2 mile 5. It shows he's got a lot of class. An official rating of 156 here. This year, he's won a novice chase at Bangor, Wincanton. He fell at Exeter, which was very unfortunate, but made amends at Kempton next time out, beating Max Ward and King Sox. That form wouldn't really be worth the paper it's written on, as those horses aren't that high class. But Modus is a course and distance winner here at Cheltenham. He's got a lot of experience. He likes good to soft ground. He doesn't mind it being too soft, so he's a very versatile horse. And you'd expect Modus to run a fairly good race for Paul Nicholls, who's pretty thin on the ground this year when it comes to quality. Long gone are the days that Paul Nicholls has horses like Masterminded, Cato Star, the Denmans. He does need a champion, does Paul Nicholls.
The handicap certainty romps in at Leopardstown. Up your good thing.
Right, we're going to talk about a horse here, Finian's Oscar, who's had a lot of people talking this year. A lot of people have said Colin Tizard's been ruining the horse. He's been running him over hurdles, running him over fences, running him over the wrong trip, stretching the horse. Well, he's made the race, which I'm bloody delighted about, because I think I backed him at around 11-1 in October or November. So, you know, it wasn't non-runner, no bet at that stage. So I'm just happy to be in the lineup. And he's currently available to be backed at 8-1. And the one thing I'm most pleased about with Finian's Oscar is, A, he's running back over fences, because I think he's definitely going to be a chaser. And B, he's running over the ideal trip. And C, Colin Tizard is back in form, because he had a pretty poor January, but he bounced back in February, operating at around a 26% strike rate. Finian's Oscar's a 6-year-old. He meets that ideal stat of previous winners. Now, he's a fascinating horse, this Finian's Oscar. Was bought for a lot of money, won a point-to-point, won a novice hurdle, won a Grade 1 hurdle at Sandown. Went to Aintree, won a Grade 1. He's obviously high class. Was given a poor ride by Robbie Power at Punchestown in the Grade 1 last year. Kicked for home way too soon. Got chinned on the line by Bacardi's. Death Duty was in behind that day. Let's Dance. That's all good form. Now this year, he's gone fencing. And things haven't really worked out for a number of reasons. Started off at Chepstow. Won really easily over 2 mile 3. Came back to Cheltenham. Beat Move with the Times, who's well favoured for a handicap this week. Gave him £8 and a beating over 2.5 miles. And I thought that day, you know, this horse is going to line up pretty much a red-hot favourite for this race. But after that, things went downhill. Colin decided to run him in the Henry VIII at Sandown, a 2 mile race and one of the fastest 2 miles in the country. He ran an absolute stinker and was never in the race. They subsequently went to Ascot. Now, I don't think this was a bad performance, giving Benatar £5 and being beaten a photo, because I rate Benatar very, very highly indeed of Gary Moore's. I think that was a good run. I think Finian's Oscar, his confidence may have been slightly lacking that day, and running that race that quickly after Sandown, to me, showed he's got a bit of guts, a bit of heart, and I have to say, I think Benatar's a very good horse. Now, surprisingly enough, they decided to run him in the Cleve Hurdle on heavy ground in a Grade 2. I couldn't understand this decision. Eventually, the horse was pulled up. nothing about it made sense to me. They said he's going to go for the stayers. Surprise, surprise. Here he is, a course and distance winner, running in the JLT. I'm pretty thankful because, like I said, I'm on at around 11 to 1. I have to check all my anti-post dockets. I've got so bloody many. But Finian's is in the race, and I'm going to say this now. He's no back marker because on his hurdle form, he's the best horse in this race. And I think if his jumping stands up, he could take some stopping. Let me know your thoughts on Colin Tizzard, the way they've campaigned this horse this year. I know a lot of you have been very vocal in this. Let me know how you view Finian's Oscar's chance in the JLT. Right, next up in the betting is Benatar, horse we kind of mentioned with the Finian's Oscar form line there. He's 9 to 1, trained by Gary Moore, another 6-year-old. A decent hurdler, 4th to Finian's Oscar at Aintree last year in a Grade 1, beaten 8 lengths. This year he's gone novice chasing, won a novice chase at Ascot, again at Plumpton, and then beat Finian's at Ascot, receiving £5. He had a small setback. He was supposed to run on the card, sponsored by Betdac, most recently at Kempton Park. Sorry, excuse me. I'm not sure how much that setback would have held him up, but I know Gary and Jamie Moore were both pretty devastated by that. But he's going to line up in the JLT, and I think whatever he does, he may actually improve upon. I do like Benatar a lot, but I would be worried at this late stage about the fact he's had a small hold up. I think this is a lovely horse going forwards, and he reminds me very much of Armad. Gary's had some really good horses in the last few years, and this one could be really good. But I think for me, I'll be leaving him alone and focusing more on him on his next run. Big Marty, trained by Harry Whittington. Now, this trainer obviously has St Calvados. He's got a few lovely horses, and if he were to have a Cheltenham Festival winner, it would mean a lot to a small yard. Big Marty, 16 to 1 for the JLT. There's been money for this. He's been backed in from about 33's early doors, and he has some decent form. He beat Drumcliff at Kempton over hurdles off a 133, averaged out a mark of around 135 over hurdles. Went novice chasing this year, started off by beating Darabin, who actually won today at Sandown, funnily enough. Next time up, went to Newbury and beat Sirename. Now, that form is pretty strong, as we all know. Sirename's won a good race at Kempton. He's nearly dead heated with Terrafort. So on a form line there, you could argue that Big Marty should be shorter in the betting. If he were trained by a more fashionable yard, would he be shorter in the betting? In my opinion, yes. What would your opinion be? Comment down below on that one. Big Marty, bigger or shorter in the betting, or the right price? But that was a decent race that day. Creve Hill of Nigel Twiston's Davis's was 41 lengths behind in third. Subsequently, he's gone on to run in a handicap and get beaten. He's got beaten off a mark of 129. So it all looks pretty strong. He went to Doncaster next time out and got beaten a photo finish by Duke of Navan. He tried to give that horse £8. I thought he'd win that day. He was back from 4s down to 9 to 4. Got collared on the post. That was over 2 miles. He'll be back up to 2.5 in the JLT. And there's no reason to think that this admirable 7-year-old won't run a very decent race indeed. He meets the ideal criteria again. And Harry Whittington's a trainer going places. There's been money for Big Marty. Will he deliver? We will find out pretty soon. For the serious business, I want to know your tips. Comment down below on the JLT. It is a tricky race, but I'm going to stick with my favourite here. I'm going to stick with Colin Tizzard's horse, Finian's Oscar, who I napped up earlier on in the year. I think he's running back over his ideal trip. I'm glad to see him back over fences. Colin's back in form. All of these form lines stacked back up. Right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the JLT. It's still a very cloudy, murky picture. But for me, I'm going to stick with the old boy, the young boy, I should say, who I tipped up back in November, Finian's Oscar. I haven't lost the faith. I'm keeping the faith. I think he's running back over his ideal trip. He's back over fences. Colin's back in form. He's had a nice 47-day break. He should come into the race fresh. And I'm expecting Finian's Oscar to run a really, really good race. Each way at 8 to 1, I still think there's a bit of value there. I don't see why horses like Terrafort and Modus should be shorter than him. He gave Benatar £5 that day at Ascot. He's not giving him £5 today. He's rated £4 higher on the official handicap, and I think there's still a bit of value in Finian's Oscar. He's a course and distance winner at Cheltenham. He's a 6-year-old. He fits the ideal stats of previous winners of this race, and I'm prepared to stick with him. My nap in the JLT is Finian's Oscar. for Colin Tizard. Let me know your tip down below. This is a fascinating race. It's still very cloudy. Will Footpad line up here? Will Monolith line up here? Well, we're only a few days away from the festival now, 4 days out. We'll soon hear all of those questions. See you all at the Fez, and if you see me, please don't buy me too much Guinness. I'm genuinely worried about my health.
Little bit of assistance in the saddle. Go on, you good thing.
One hand drive, Trev. One hand drive.
Go on, you good thing. Straighten her up. 2 to go. You're 10 clear. But this man here, he's pushing. The second favourite. The odds-on chance. Go on, my son. Couple of slaps down the back. You're only 3 lengths clear.